down to the nookie crookie.
Nookie cookie.
Right, now, it's down to the top 3. So, number 3, I'm sure you've all got your guesswork out there, and you're probably right with one of them. It's HBK, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania. You cannot put this man not in the top 3, I'm sorry. It's a must. You have to have this man in the top 3. He has had a storybook career through WrestleMania on its own. You've got the Rockers, who came in, exciting young tag team, didn't have many memorable WrestleMania matches, but they cemented themselves as athletes. But when Michaels kicked off his career as a singles competitor at WrestleMania 8, you knew something was coming good. And then WrestleMania 9, Intercontinental, WrestleMania 10, the unbelievable ladder match that's still talked about today, 20 years later, as one of the greatest WrestleMania matches ever. And then he became into the top stream, main event material. Like you said, a bit Bret Hart, a great Iron Man match. Had that big match with Austin at WrestleMania 14. And then he had the big break where we didn't think we were going to see Michaels anymore. And I'm sure Michaels would have still been on this 30 if his career would have been finished then, because the stuff he had done before that was so good. But the reason he's in at number 3 is all the stuff after. He came back, arguably better than ever. And he put on the matches, like you said, against the triple threat match against Jericho at 19 as well, Angle at 21, and the unforgettable WrestleMania 25 match against Undertaker, not to mention retiring Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24. I mean, until he was retired himself by the Undertaker at WrestleMania 26.
To be a true legend, you've got to be retired at WrestleMania, and he ticks that box.
Yes, I think that is very, very true. And it's justifiable and more than worth putting Michaels at number 3 because of all that. And, there will never be another Mr. WrestleMania. He has the best match at every WrestleMania he gets in, and that's a very hard feat to follow.
Wow, so who's number 1, who's number 2? At number 2 is Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. He's been, would WrestleMania have ever got off the ground if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan with his popularity? It's hard to know, really. If they didn't have a star of that quality, we might not have a WrestleMania 30 years later. It's just, he's the one who got off his popularity. He's the one who sold the tickets. He's the one who kept it going.
Yeah.
And he had some pretty decent matches as well. And Mania 1 teaming up with Mr. T. That was pretty epic. Less said about WrestleMania 2 maybe with the cage match with Bundy. But WrestleMania 3, as we said, that's the biggest WrestleMania of all time in terms of attendance, and that match, that main event, one of the biggest main events of WrestleMania. And then at 4, he kind of, he made way for Savage, really, and $1 Million Man, and that was good. He kind of, it didn't all have to be about him all the time.
Yeah, and he made that more of the point at 6 as well when he put over the Warrior.
Yeah, he's did great against. We all wanted to see Hogan versus Savage, and did a great job at 5, and then at 6. In my personal opinion, is the best WrestleMania match of all time. That's my opinion. I'm sure lots of people might not agree, but I thought that match was absolutely epic. And even when I go back and watch it, when he goes for the leg drop, I still expect him to win, even though I know Warrior moves out of the way. It's just how enthralled I am in the match, and it's just his matches were absolutely epic. And at 7 against Sergeant Slaughter, I thought, when I was watching that back, I thought, this might be a bit rubbish because they're two big guys, but both absolutely epic. And then at 8 against Psycho Sid, what was supposed to be his last match, but he then comes back at 9 in a tag match, loses, and you think, that's it, it's all over, and then he comes back at the end and wins the title.
Yeah.
I like that finish, to be honest. I know a lot of people didn't, but I like it, and he then later on, he comes back at 18 against The Rock.
That was epic, I think. Probably my favourite part of Hogan's career, in a way, coming back, because it just
absolutely. That's
brought so much back in, so many memories.
If Andre Hulk isn't the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, then I'm pretty sure Hogan Rock is then.
Yeah.
It's that was absolutely epic to see those two
icons
against each other.
McMahon the year after, and then since then, he hasn't had a fight against WrestleMania, but
I'm sure he'll be there in some capacity for WrestleMania.
I hope
30.
so. Yeah. Right. Well, this is the top hat.
Well, who could it be?
I'm sure you probably guessed
think
it.
you know.
I think it would be
Well, it'd be a travesty if you didn't get it, perhaps, really.
yeah.
We couldn't say anything what doesn't justify it, really, could we?
No.
But
what we all say is, Sid, we're going to give you the honour of actually telling everyone who the top hat actually is. So take it away, Sid.
Last one from me and us is the top hat. Have you guessed it yet? Only joking, not Bastion Booger. It's the Undertaker, the dead man. Now, this guy, I mean, you could just call him WrestleMania. Not Mr. WrestleMania, but WrestleMania. He is WrestleMania. They basically, WrestleMania is all about him nowadays because of his history, because of his Mania legacy. He has that streak, that one thing that nobody has, and nobody, I doubt, will have. He has been in so many WrestleManias, all of them that he has been in, he has won. That's 21 WrestleManias. Find a guy who has been in anywhere near that amount of WrestleManias, and I'll straight away give the top spot to him. But I'll take you through a few of his 2 decades and over of destruction at WrestleMania. All of them he's won, so I'm not going to keep saying he won that one. So let's start off. I mean, the first one was so his first match was against Jimmy Fly Snuka. Not one of his biggest matches, but this was the intro of The Undertaker, so it was pretty good. Then the next one, Mania 8, was a high-profile match against Jake the Snake. Pretty good match. Jake always puts on a good show, and so does Taker. The next one, in an outdoor match in Vegas against Giant Gonzalez. Both very tall, big powerhouses. So this was a good match and a good display of old school wrestling. He fought, I'll just jump forward and say that he fought Diesel at Mania 12, and this was a brilliant match and a very underrated match in my opinion. Big powerhouses again. Diesel looked like he could beat him, even though people didn't really take the streak or notice the streak at this time. I would say Mania 17 against Triple H. Now this was a great match. He came back as the American Badass in this match and did look like he was going to lose this match. I really did think so. And this is where you started to see the streak building up. He went on to fight Triple H 3 more times, 27, 28, all the time Triple H lost to him. One was in a Hell in a Cell, WrestleMania 28, which was a great match, and this was sort of the king of the cell match for both Triple H and Taker wins. But going into it, massive feud. Another Hell in a Cell match that Taker did at Mania was against the Boss Man, and he hung the Boss Man from the top of the cell with a noose. So this was a great display at Mania. I would say he fought Kane at 2 Manias. One was his return, and one was at WrestleMania 14. His return was at Mania 20. Brothers of Destruction, but him beating his brother, you always think Kane might get the upper hand because he is his brother, and you would think he might be able to overcome Kane. I would say Mania 18 against Ric Flair was a good show for Ric Flair, but always a good show for Taker. I think Taker helped carry Ric Flair a bit in that match, making them both look good. So a good display of wrestling. And then Punk, HBK, Mr. WrestleMania 25. That was arguably of both these old school and turning into new school wrestlers. The biggest legends, well, two of the biggest legends, they put on arguably the best match of Mania history, WrestleMania 25. And then he retired HBK at WrestleMania 26. So another great match. I don't think it was as good as WrestleMania 25, but the crowd reaction in that match, you don't see many matches like that. They must have practiced that match for ages, or maybe it's just natural for both of them. Taker did take a bit of a bump in that match, landed on his head. People thought he wouldn't be able to carry on, but he still put on a solid 15 minutes of perfection in the ring with Michaels. And the last year I will go on to talk about, or maybe I'll talk about Mania 21 against Orton, a good streak match. The tag team match at WrestleMania 19, not much to go on. And then I would say WrestleMania 23 against Batista, a good match. WrestleMania 22, casket match against Mark Henry, not one of his biggest matches. Great WrestleMania match against Edge, brilliant performance, and that's where he came up with his new submission move, the Hell's Gate. And then WrestleMania 29 last year was against CM Punk, and that was a brilliant match. Very personal feud because Paul Bearer had just died going into it. And he won that one too. He won all of them. 21. One match a year now he does, but he's been at most Manias and he deserves that Mania spotlight now. So fair play to you, Undertaker. You get our top hat, and leave your comments down below if anyone thinks that he shouldn't or wants to talk more about Undertaker. Anyway, guys, back to you in the studio.
Well, we can't really say any more about that.
Can't argue with that.
I mean, I guess we'll just see WrestleMania 30 and you'll be able to see why that man, The Undertaker, is Under the Hat's top hat WrestleMania personality of all time. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. We sure did like bringing it to you. Longest episode in the history of Under The Hat TV. We'll be back with the predictions for WrestleMania 30 next month. But until then, from Jack Spider, from Sid in Sydney, and from Bellboy, what goes on under the hat
Stays under the hat.